Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive with us. Cybersecurity audits are a pretty big deal these days, and we've gotten a ton of questions about them. So we're diving into some real-world scenarios from what looks like a CISA assessment exam. We've got questions 51 through 80, and let me tell you, they cover everything. Backups, digital signatures, even those ethical dilemmas. The ones that make you go, huh, what's the right move here? So we're breaking it all down, question by question, answer by answer, explanation by explanation. By the end of this, you'll be able to spot a cybersecurity vulnerability from a mile away and know exactly what to do about it. So you ready to get started?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Okay, cool. So first up, question 51. This was all about backup methods. It asks, which method copies change files without resetting the archive bit? The answer, a differential backup. But what does that even mean?
Well, you can think of the archive bit like a little flag on each file. When a file changes, that flag goes up, signaling, hey, this needs to be backed up. Now, a full backup that copies everything and resets all the flags. But a differential backup is a bit smarter. It only copies the files with the flag up, and it leaves the flag up. So the next time you run a differential backup, it knows exactly what needs to be copied. Makes the whole process much faster.
So it's like a running checklist of what's changed.
Yeah.
I like that. But why is this so important?
Oh, it's huge for disaster recovery. If your system crashes, you can get things back up and running quickly. You just use the last full backup and then the latest differential backup, boom, you're back in business. And here's where it gets really interesting. In forensic investigations, this method is gold. It captures every change, even those deleted files. It's like a digital detective's best friend.
Okay, so differential backups, fast, efficient, and a forensic investigator's best friend.
Got it. Now, speaking of keeping data safe, let's move on to question 52, digital signatures. What are they all about? Well, it's all about knowing that the document you're looking at really came from the person it's supposed to come from. They're like a tamper-proof seal meets digital fingerprint. It uses cryptography to bind a person or an organization to a specific document or message. It verifies their identity and that the message hasn't been changed.
So you can be sure it's legit and hasn't been messed with along the way.
Exactly, but there's a catch. The security of the digital signature relies completely on the system protecting it. If the sender's private key, the one used to create the signature, gets compromised, well, then their signature can be forged.
Like having a high-tech lock on your door but leaving the key under the mat.
Exactly. It defeats the purpose. So having a strong system for managing those keys is absolutely crucial for any system using digital signatures.
Right. Strong key management. That makes sense. All right, on to question 53. This one's about identification and authentication. These terms are often used interchangeably, but there's a subtle difference. Right.
Yeah, it's an important distinction. Imagine you're at a bar and someone says they're old enough to drink. That's identification. They're claiming to be someone. Authentication is proving it by showing their ID.
So in cybersecurity, we need to be sure that the person accessing the data is really who they say they are.
Exactly. That's why we have things like multi-factor authentication. You need more than just a password to get in. It's like adding an extra lock on that door, making it much harder for anyone to sneak in.
Okay. Makes sense. More security is always better. So question 54. This one tackles policies and procedures, the bread and butter of any good security framework, right? It asks us to complete this statement. A blank is strategic, while a blank is tactical. The answer, a policy is strategic, a procedure is tactical. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure, think of it this way. Policies, they set the big picture goals and principles, like a mission statement for security. We will protect sensitive data. That's a policy.
Okay, got it. So what about procedures?
Procedures, those are the detailed instructions on how to achieve those goals. It's the step-by-step guide, the how-to manual for implementing those security measures. So a procedure might outline exactly how to encrypt that sensitive data, who has access, and how it should be handled.
So policies set the direction and procedures provide the roadmap.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like that analogy. All right, question 55 throws another acronym at us, RAID, which stands for Redundant Array of Independent Disks. Sounds complicated, but I have a feeling it's not.
No, not really. It's all about increasing availability, making sure your systems are up and running when you need them.
We've talked about how crucial that is before. But how does RAID actually work?
Well, imagine you have a really important document and you don't want to lose it. What do?
Make copies.
Exactly. RAID does something similar, but with hard drives. It uses multiple hard drives to store your data, so if one drive fails, you still got copies on the others.
So it's like having a built-in backup for your storage system. That's pretty smart.
It ensures that your data is always accessible, even if something goes wrong.
Okay, so RAID is all about redundancy. and making sure your data is always there when you need it. Makes sense. All right, shifting gears a bit. Question 56 is about auditors. What's their primary purpose?
Well, think of an auditor as an independent observer. Their job is to provide an objective assessment of an organization's security controls and practices. They're like security detectives examining evidence and providing an unbiased report.
So they don't fix the problems themselves, but they point them out and make recommendations.
Exactly. Their findings help organizations strengthen their defenses and reduce the risk of security breaches.
It's like having a fresh set of eyes to spot those vulnerabilities you might have missed.
Precisely.
Okay, so auditors are the watchdogs, making sure things are secure and up to snuff. Got it. Now, speaking of auditors, question 57 gets into a bit of a tricky situation reporting conflicts. What kind of situations should raise red flags for an auditor?
Well, imagine an employee discovers a security violation, but they're afraid to report it. Maybe because their boss, who's responsible for security, might retaliate. That's a conflict of interest.
Right, so people shouldn't be afraid to speak up about security concerns.
Absolutely. Auditors need to ensure that reporting channels are clear, independent, and protect those who come forward.
It's all about creating a culture of transparency and accountability.
Exactly.
Okay, so open communication and a safe environment for reporting. That's key. All right, on to something a little different question. 58 introduces the crash dump. This mysterious file created when a system crashes. Sounds a bit ominous.
It does, but it's actually a valuable source of information for investigators. It captures the contents of the computer's RAM, which is like its short-term memory.
So it's a snapshot of what the computer was doing at the moment of the crash.
Exactly. It can be incredibly useful for troubleshooting.
But it can also contain sensitive information.
Yes, things like passwords, fragments of documents.
Yeah.
So handling these files securely is extremely important.
Okay, so crash dumps, valuable for investigations, but handle with care. Got it. All right, back to encryption. Question 59 asks which key the recipient doesn't use to decrypt a message encrypted with PKI. The answer, the sender's private key. Can you walk us through that one?
Sure. Remember, digital signatures, the sender's private key is used to create that signature, but it's not needed for decryption. The recipient uses their own private key and the sender's public key to unlock the message.
Ah, so it's like a two-way lock. Each person has their own key and both are needed to open it.
Exactly. This system ensures that only the intended recipient can read the message and that it hasn't been tampered with.
Secure and private. I like it. Okay, last one for this part, question 60, asks about the best location for a computer room. And you answer, the middle floor. Why not tuck it away in a basement or hide it on the top floor?
Well, basements are prone to flooding and top floors are vulnerable to roof leaks and storm damage.
So the middle floor offers the best protection from those environmental hazards.
Exactly. It's like finding the Goldilocks zone for your computer room. Not too high, not too low, just right.
Just right, makes sense. All right, so that's it for this part of our cybersecurity audit deep dive. We've covered backups, digital signatures, crash dumps, and even the ideal location for a computer room. We'll be back soon with more questions and insights, so stay tuned. All right, welcome back to our cybersecurity audit deep dive. We're picking up right where we left off with those tricky questions from what looks like a CISA assessment exam. So are you ready to keep going?
Absolutely. Let's jump back in.
All right, cool question. 71 focuses on detective controls, specifically how to implement them using administrative methods. What does that look like?
Think of it like being a detective. You don't just wait for a crime to happen. You actively look for clues, monitor for suspicious activity, try to prevent incidents before they even occur.
So being proactive.
Exactly. A great example in cybersecurity is auditing those system configurations and log files. It's like checking security camera footage, alarm logs, making sure everything's in order.
Looking for anything unusual, any signs that something might be off.
Exactly. And this proactive approach can help catch those security breaches early on before they can escalate into something major.
So it's all about being vigilant and staying ahead of the game.
Precisely.
All right, on to question 72, non-statistical audit samples or judgmental samples. What makes this type of sampling different?
Well, unlike statistical sampling, which relies on those mathematical formulas, and random selection judgmental sampling is all about using the auditor's expertise and experience.
So it's more about using their professional judgment to guide the process.
Exactly. They're not just randomly checking things off a list. They're using their knowledge to zero in on the areas most likely to have issues.
So it's a more targeted approach based on the organization's specific risks.
Exactly.
Okay, so judgmental sampling is all about leveraging that human expertise to make the audit more effective. Got it. Now, question 73 brings up some firewall setups that would make any security professional cringe. What are some of those red flags that would send shivers down an auditor's spine?
One big one is enabling source routing. You see firewalls, they're like the gatekeepers of your network, controlling what traffic can come in and out. But enabling source routing, it's like giving someone a secret map, showing them how to bypass all those security checkpoints.
So it's a huge risk that can allow attackers to just sneak right in.
Exactly. Unless there's a very specific reason to enable source routing, it's best to keep those firewalls strong and those secret passages closed.
Keep those back doors shut. That makes sense. All right, question 74. This one explores a different approach to software development agile programming methodology. How is this different from traditional methods?
Well, traditional methods can be pretty rigid, linear. Agile programming, on the other hand, embraces flexibility and adaptability.
So it's more about being able to adjust to changes along the way.
Exactly. It's like building a house brick by brick, but constantly adjusting those plans based on feedback and changing needs.
Makes sense. So it's ideal for projects where things are constantly evolving.
It is agile teams they work in those short iterations, delivering working software frequently and getting feedback along the way.
So it's a more collaborative and iterative approach.
Exactly. It allows teams to respond quickly to those changes and deliver value much faster.
Okay, so agile programming, all about flexibility, collaboration, and adapting to change. Got it. Question 75. This one's a bit of an ethical dilemma. What should an auditor do if they're offered an unauthorized copy of software?
Oh, that's a tough one. But the answer is pretty clear. Politely decline the offer. Using pirated software, it's not only unethical, it's illegal.
And for an auditor, maintaining integrity is paramount right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so no shortcuts when it comes to software, even if it's tempting.
Exactly.
All right, question 76 deals with this serious situation, an illegal or inappropriate act involving those at the very top. The people responsible for governance. What's the right course of action for the auditor in this case?
Well, it's crucial to report those concerns to the audit committee. This independent body, they're responsible for overseeing the audit function and ensuring accountability.
So they have the authority to investigate the matter and take action.
Exactly. They're like that safety valve to make sure that even the most powerful people in an organization are held accountable.
So the audit committee plays a vital role in maintaining transparency and ethical conduct.
Absolutely.
Okay, so when in doubt, report it to the audit committee. Got it. Question 77 asks about the purpose of an audit charter. What is this document and why is it so important?
Think of it like an auditor's official badge and their set of marching orders. It defines their responsibilities, their authority, the scope of their investigation.
So it lays out the ground rules for the audit.
Exactly. It gives the auditor the keys to the castle, so to speak, and permission to look under every rock.
So it ensures they have the access and the support they need to do their job effectively.
Precisely.
Okay, so the audit charter sets the stage for a thorough and independent assessment. Got it. All right, question 78. This one shines a light on those privileged access logins. Those accounts with elevated permissions that can access sensitive systems and data. How many of these passwords typically exist on a server?
More than you might think. It's not just one master password. There are often separate administrative accounts for different applications, services, utilities, passwords for the operating system, the database, backup software, you name it.
So it can quickly become a password jungle.
It can, and that's why having a strong system for managing those passwords is absolutely crucial.
Regular password rotation, using strong and unique passwords, and implementing multi-factor authentication.
Exactly, all essential for protecting those critical accounts.
So those privileged access logins, they need that extra layer of protection. Got it. Question 79 talks about portfolio management. But we're not talking about stocks and bonds here, right?
No, not in this case. We're talking about managing projects within an organization. It's a strategic approach to make sure all those projects are aligned with the overall goals and are delivering maximum value.
So it's about making sure you're investing your time and resources in the right initiatives.
Exactly. It involves careful selection, prioritization, resource allocation, all to ensure that each project and the portfolio as a whole is successful.
Okay, so portfolio management in this context is all about strategic alignment and maximizing value. Got it. All right, last one for this part, question 80, introduces the Integrated Test Facility, or ITF. What is that exactly?
Think of it like a cybersecurity simulator. It allows auditors to test those security controls in a safe and controlled environment without impacting the live system.
So it's like a practice run for your security defenses.
Exactly. It's a way to practice your defenses, identify vulnerabilities before they can be exploited by those attackers.
So you can fine-tune your security strategy and be better prepared for the real deal.
Exactly.
Okay, so the ITF, a valuable tool for proactive security testing. Got it. And we're back for the final part of our cybersecurity audit deep dive, We're wrapping up those CISA assessment exam questions, and these last few are pretty interesting. So let's jump right in with question 81. Back to PKI encryption. This one asks, which key is not used by the recipient when decrypting a message? The answer is the sender's private key. Can you explain that a bit?
Sure. So in PKI encryption, everyone has two keys, a public key and a private key. The public key is like your address. Anyone can use it to send you an encrypted message. But your private key, that's like the key to your mailbox, only you can use it to unlock and read those messages.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the sender uses their private key to digitally sign the message. But the recipient doesn't need it to decrypt it. They use their own private key and the sender's public key to unlock it.
Ah, so it's a two-way system that ensures only the right person can read the message.
Exactly. And it verifies that the message hasn't been tampered with.
Secure and private. Got it. All right, question 82. This one's about the ideal location for a computer room. The answer, the middle floor. Why not the basement or the top floor?
Well, basements, they're prone to flooding, not a good mix with electronics. And top floors, while they might seem more secure, are vulnerable to roof leaks and storm damage.
So the middle floor is the safest bet.
Exactly. It offers the best protection from those environmental hazards.
The Goldilocks zone for computer rooms.
Exactly. Not too high, not too low, just right.
All right, question 83 takes us back to rootkits. We talked about these briefly before, but what exactly are they?
Well, imagine someone breaking into your house and installing hidden cameras and microphones, but without leaving a trace. That's kind of what a rootkit does to your computer.
So it's a stealthy way for attackers to gain access and control.
Exactly. It's a set of malicious tools designed to evade detection. They hide from antivirus software and even from skilled security professionals.
So they're really difficult to find and remove.
They give attackers a level of control that can be incredibly hard to deal with.
They're definitely not something you want on your system. All right, question 84. This one's about digital forensics and a tool called a write blocker. What is that?
It's an essential tool for preserving evidence. Imagine a crime scene investigator accidentally contaminating a fingerprint. That's what can happen if you try to analyze a hard drive without a write blocker.
So it prevents any changes from being made to the drive?
Exactly. Even something as simple as booting up a computer can alter the data. A write blocker prevents that, ensuring the data remains in its original state.
So it's all about maintaining the integrity of the evidence.
Precisely.
Okay, so write blockers, crucial for digital investigations. Got it. Now question 85 revisits the roles of management and the auditor. Can you remind us of the key differences?
Sure, management, they're responsible for establishing and maintaining the security controls within an organization. The auditor comes in and provides an independent assessment of those controls.
So management builds the house and the auditor inspects it.
Exactly. They're checking to make sure everything is up to code.
A system of checks and balances to ensure effective security.
Precisely.
All right, question 86. This one asks how an auditor demonstrates their competence. What makes an auditor truly qualified?
Well, it's not enough to just say you're an expert. A competent auditor needs to be able to back up their findings with solid evidence.
Show their work, so to speak.
Exactly. They need to demonstrate how they arrived at their conclusions and how those findings align with relevant regulations and standards.
So it's all about transparency and rigor.
Precisely. That's what builds trust and ensures the quality of the audit.
Okay, so a good auditor is thorough, methodical, and able to justify their findings. Got it. Now, question 87. This one's about business process reengineering. It asks which process is the best candidate for this type of overhaul. And the answer is going to be my better, a non-working process. Why not focus on improving something that's already working, even if it's not perfect?
Well, business process reengineering, it's about making big changes to get big improvements. If a process is already working, even with some issues, there might be resistance to changing it drastically.
But if it's completely broken, then you have more freedom to rebuild it.
Exactly. It's like starting with a blank slate. You can design it from scratch and optimize it for efficiency.
Sometimes you need a fresh start to make real progress.
That's it.
Okay, so for those broken processes, business process reengineering could be the answer. Got it. Question 88, back to audit reports. This one's about a qualified opinion. What does that mean?
Think of it like getting a checkup from your doctor. Everything seems fine, but the doctor says there's one thing they're not sure about and they need to do some more tests.
So it's not a clean bill of health, but it's not a complete failure either.
Exactly. It means the auditor has some reservations about their findings.
Maybe due to limited scope or insufficient evidence?
Exactly. It's a signal that there might be some unresolved issues that need further investigation.
A yellow flag that warrants a closer look.
Precisely.
Okay, so a qualified opinion means proceed with caution. Got it. All right, back to wireless security question 89. This one focuses on WP and WPA. These are encryption protocols for Wi-Fi networks, right?
They are, but they both rely on a pre-shared key or PSK. It's like having one key that unlocks the door to your entire Wi-Fi network.
And if that key falls into the wrong hands,
Anyone can access your network and potentially compromise your data.
not good. So stronger encryption protocols and better password management are crucial.
Absolutely, things like WPA2 and using unique, strong passwords for each device.
Okay, so don't rely on those older protocols and always practice good password hygiene. Got it. Question 90. This one's about planning for the unexpected, a business impact analysis, or BIA. Why is this so important?
Well, imagine a disaster strikes your business, a fire, a flood, a cyber attack. What are the most critical functions you need to get back up and running first?
The ones that are essential to keep the business going.
Exactly. A BIA helps you figure that out.
So it's like a risk assessment for your operations.
It is. It helps you identify those critical processes and the potential impact of disruptions.
So you can prioritize recovery efforts and get back on track quickly.
Exactly. It's like having a roadmap for navigating a crisis.
Okay, so a BIA is all about preparedness and minimizing the impact of those unexpected events. Makes sense. All right, question 91, artificial intelligence. This one introduces expert systems. What are those?
Think of them like digital consultants. They use a knowledge base and a set of rules to make decisions, often mimicking the decision-making process of a human expert.
So it's like having a virtual advisor on hand.
Exactly. They can provide insights and recommendations based on a vast amount of data.
Pretty amazing how technology can augment human expertise.
It is. Expert systems are used in all sorts of fields, from medical diagnosis to financial analysis.
Okay, so expert systems, they're like digital brains that can help us make better decisions. Got it. All right, question 92, back to authentication this time. It's soft tokens. Remind us what those are again?
Sure, soft tokens, they provide that extra layer of security beyond your password. It's basically a digital file that generates a one-time password.
And that one-time password changes constantly, right?
It does, usually every 30 seconds or so.
So even if someone steals your password, it won't be valid for long.
Exactly. It makes it much harder for attackers to compromise your accounts.
Like a moving target for hackers. Okay, so soft tokens, another layer of protection for those important accounts.
Got it. All right, question 93, back to detective controls. We talked about these earlier, but how can you implement them effectively?
Well, one way is through regular audits of those system configurations and log files. It's like reviewing security camera footage after a break-in. You're looking for clues, patterns, anything that can help you understand what happened and how to prevent it from happening again.
So you're actively looking for signs of trouble.
Exactly. Regular reviews can help you spot unusual activity, identify misconfigurations, and detect those potential breaches early on.
Okay, so detective controls, it's all about being proactive and vigilant.
Precisely.
All right, question 94. This one's about non-statistical audit samples, also known as judgmental samples. How are they different from statistical samples? Well, a statistical sample uses mathematical formulas to choose what to audit. It's like drawing names out of a hat. Every item has an equal chance of being selected.
But with a judgmental sample, the auditor uses their expertise to choose.
Exactly. They use their knowledge of the organization, its risks, and its controls to select the items most likely to reveal potential issues.
So it's a more targeted approach based on the auditor's professional judgment.
Exactly.
Okay, so judgmental sampling leverages that human element to make the audit more focused.
Got it.
Got it. Question 95, firewall configurations. This one highlights a risky setup enabling source routing. Why is this so dangerous?
Well, firewalls are like those gatekeepers we talked about, controlling network traffic. But enabling source routing, it's like giving someone a map to bypass those security checkpoints.
A secret passage for attackers.
Exactly. It allows them to manipulate traffic and potentially gain access to your systems.
So unless there's a very specific reason to enable it, it's best to keep it disabled.
Absolutely. It's a big security risk.
Okay, source routing disabled unless absolutely necessary. Got it. All right, question 96. This one explores agile programming methodology. How does this differ from traditional approaches?
Well, traditional methods tend to be very linear. You follow a set sequence of steps. Agile is much more flexible and iterative.
So you can adapt to changes along the way.
Exactly. It's like building a house, but instead of following a blueprint rigidly, you're constantly adjusting based on feedback and evolving needs.
Makes sense. So it's perfect for projects with fluid requirements.
It is. Agile teams work in short cycles, delivering working software frequently and getting feedback throughout the process.
So it's all about collaboration and being able to respond to change quickly.
Sure, exactly. Right.
Okay, agile programming, flexible, adaptable, and collaborative. Got it.
Yeah.
Question 97. This one presents an ethical dilemma. What should an auditor do if they're offered an unauthorized copy of software?
That's a simple one. Politely decline the offer. Using pirated software is illegal and unethical.
And for an auditor, integrity is everything right.
Absolutely.
So no shortcuts, no exceptions.
Exactly.
All right, question 98. What should an auditor do if they discover an illegal or inappropriate act involving those responsible for governance? That's a tricky situation.
It is, but the right course of action is clear. Report it to the audit committee.
They're the independent body that oversees the audit function, right?
Exactly. They have the authority to investigate those matters and take appropriate action.
So it ensures accountability, even at the highest levels.
Precisely. The audit committee plays a vital role in maintaining transparency and ethical conduct.
Okay, so when in doubt, report it up the chain to the audit committee. Got it. Question 99. The purpose of an audit charter. What is it, and why is it so important?
It's like an auditor's official badge and set of instructions. It outlines their responsibilities, their authority, the scope of their work.
So it sets the boundaries for the audit.
Exactly. It establishes their independence and gives them the access they need to do their job properly.
So it's essential for a thorough and objective assessment.
Absolutely. Without it, the auditor's work could be compromised.
Okay, the audit charter sets the stage and empowers the auditor. Got it. All right, last question. Question 100, privileged access logins. These are the accounts with high-level access to sensitive systems.
They are, and they require extra protection because if those accounts are compromised, the consequences can be severe.
So strong password policies, regular rotation, multi-factor authentication.
All essential measures to safeguard those critical accounts.
Okay, so privileged access logins, treat them with extreme care. Well, that's it for our cybersecurity audit deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from backup methods to ethical dilemmas to the importance of strong security practices. Cybersecurity is an ongoing challenge, and it's crucial to stay informed and vigilant. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.